I now work in the translation industry, which I find enormously satisfying. Chose to come back to Swansea. Very pleased that I did. This is my home, and these are my people. If people know you are with them, it means something.
So, David Jones, our paths have crossed numerous times, but as is often the way when you sort of meet people through volunteering and through work, quite often you kind of get to know somebody before you actually get to know a little bit about them. And so I'm interested if you can tell us a little bit about yourself, sort of where you grew up and how you come to be where you are today.
Yeah, thanks, Carl. I was born in Swansea. I grew up in Mount Pleasant, spent the first 18 years of my life there. I went to university, then I went to, lived in London in my 20s, spent a lot of time in Europe and then Eastern Europe in my 30s.
Is it something you fell into or something that you always wanted to do?
There are a number of things I did fall into, and this, you may have to edit this, but I'll tell you anyway. My first career was in recruitment, and in the mid-90s I was working on contract recruitment at a time when Korean companies were investing heavily in South Wales. I made a deal with a company called LG that if I could get a language training qualification and that combined with my recruitment skills, would they use me as a consultant to recruit for them and also to give English language training to their people. I still say it was a good plan. In the month it took me to get the qualification, the Korean economy collapsed. The company I was meant to go out and do a contract with in Seoul to familiarise myself with work practices there went bust. So I found myself with a qualification and nothing much to do with it. I met a girl on the course who I liked. She had a job in Moscow, so I went to Moscow with her. It was that random. I basically got on a plane and followed a girl I liked to Moscow.
So your working life's largely been internationally based and in part still is now, isn't it?
It is, because I now work in the translation industry. Which I find enormously satisfying. It's satisfying to be able to help Welsh companies who manufacture world-class goods and need somewhere to sell them and need to be able to communicate the quality of their goods, and a good translation service will help them. I also find that multilingualism increases one's appreciation of multiculturalism.
So you've got quite a broad set of interests, maybe is the wrong word, but you're definitely very, very active within Swansea. So what is it, what's sort of at the heart of it, or what is it that drives you, that motivates you to get involved in so many different activities?
First of all, you've only got one hometown, and I haven't spent a lot of time here for long periods, but this is my home and these are my people, which is why I came back here for the lockdown. And I think when people say they believe in human potential, it can sound a bit happy clappy, it can sound a bit insubstantial. I believe in human potential, but you have to work hard to bring it out. And if you give people a chance to be their best selves, if you give them support and you inform them, then they can realize that potential. I like it when people see that there's a better way of doing things. I like it when people appreciate what's around them. And I don't mean to sound patronizing, but I think if you inform people, if you encourage people, if you give them the right message, it can bring out good things in them. If people know you are with them, it means something.
And you've been working with a lot of different groups within Swansea. So what have you seen these different groups, these different people bring to the city of Swansea?
I've seen first of all, remarkable work ethic. There's an irony in the fact that an asylum seeker may come here and not have the legal right to work here, when they have a tremendous work ethic. I'm constantly reminded of the fact that so much success in this country is driven by immigration. My goodness, I remember having a conversation with someone in the run-up to the election in December. Someone who worked at a famous high street retail store, and this person was talking about immigration and immigrants in a way which I found upsetting and irrational. And I reminded them that the place they worked for had been founded by an immigrant, and they were absolutely stunned by that.
Swansea historically has always had that, hasn't it? I mean, you go back to the Industrial Revolution, at one point Swansea was a huge magnet for people from not just across Wales, but across the UK and further beyond as well.
Yes, and I find that flattering when people come to my home city. They like it enough to want to stay here and want to contribute here. My first response is, well, thank you, because that's good news for all of us. And my second response is to be flattered by that. If people think this is a good enough place to come and stay, well, that's great. It is a good enough place to come and stay, and it's nice to get that endorsement.
Yeah, I'm reminded very much of that a lot of the people who come to Swansea bring with them their own sense of community, and that always seems to blend very well with the community aspect of Swansea, because even being a city, it still often has that community feel about it, doesn't it?
Yes, certainly does. And as I've got to know my neighbours. I've had a chance to be a good neighbour, and they've certainly been good neighbours back to me. The upshot of this, Carl, is that I'm now looking for ways that I can spend a lot more time here. At some point, we're going to get back to something more closely resembling normality. And when we do, I want to spend a lot more time here because I'm proud of this city.
Well, that leads to a very nice place of where I want to finish off with this conversation, because one of the things I want to get from everybody, You're the Voice, is about capturing loads of voices, and in particular capturing the different viewpoints of what people hope the city of Swansea can become, will become, where it's heading to. So given everything you've done from Moscow to London to working with Korean businesses, where do you see the future of Swansea? What are your hopes and aspirations for this city?
My hopes are that it remains an outward-looking city that seeks partnerships throughout the United Kingdom and well beyond that. My hopes are that it continues to embrace multiculturalism, and that I like the starts of new decades. I like it's not a new decade isn't exactly a slate wipe clean, but it gives us a chance to say, where do we want to go in the 2020s? COVID-19 has spoiled a lot of people's plans there, but it's still valid to say, where do we want to go in the 2020s? We want this city to embrace multiculturalism, to be a place where education is valued. We have excellent academic institutions. People send their children to Swansea universities for good reasons. I would be delighted if a greater proportion of those young people stayed here after they graduated. I would love this to be a place where people can not only come and take advantage of excellent education, but also build a career. That's what I would love. If
you were to ask people to do one thing, what would it be?
It would be talk to someone every day who is from a different background to your own, and get to understand what that diversity brings to your city, and understand what that diversity brings to the city and what it can bring to your life.
Beautiful. Thank you very much. I don't know when I'm going to edit this, hopefully in the next few days. Thanks for kicking the ball off.
Cheers, Carl. Thank you.
Have a good evening, David. Take
You
care.
too, man. Bye bye.
Bye now.